Welcome back to another edition of WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Dylan Brashier, and we're back on Monday with some more important recruiting news. We got some big news for you guys. Four-star defensive edge Jaylen Harvey is finally set a commitment date for October 16th, and we feel pretty good about it. Scott?
As of prior to the Notre Dame game, and oftentimes a game does not dictate the kid's
Of
decision,
course.
but 2023, you never know what's going to impact the decision these days. But yeah, what you have right now is you have two staffs that feel good about their chances of getting Jaylen Harvey. You've got USC and Penn State. I just thought that USC the last couple of months had been the school that had made a lot of progress with Jaylen. He took a last visit on August 26th. And when he got back, the feedback I got was pretty positive. And if we're being honest, I mean, has there really been too many problems from the guys, Roy Manning's guys this season? I mean, they've actually probably played better than any unit on the football team. So it's and one of those things also with recruiting is these recruits aren't looking at the program 100% like now. Also, they're looking at a program that they're going into and where they see it going. So, and they also play football and they know losses happen as football players. So, we get asked questions all the time, oh, does this impact Jaylen Harvey's decision or whatever recruit it might be that's going to be announcing a commitment? And it never has really. I'm sure there's been some occasions to where, maybe a team just got wiped out and it was just kind of like the final straw in a guy kind of going, yeah, I've seen enough. I don't need to see any more. But anyway, he'll be announcing tomorrow at 6:45 Eastern time on social media, and we will be there at his announcement.
For sure. Tomorrow, meaning like by the time you guys are watching it, it'll be today at 3 p.m. California time, 3:45.
Yes.
Perfect. So stay tuned for that. And then we'll move on. So we got a four-star defensive lineman, Jericho Johnson. He visited back in March, and there are talks about him coming back for another official visit. Scott, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, what he's going to do is he's going to come back for multiple visits.
Oh, nice.
That was the plan as of last week. The plan is to either come to Utah or the Washington game and then also take an official visit. And they may both happen one might be an unofficial, one might be an official visit. So, but either way, the plan is for him to still come back to USC a couple of times, which is a big deal for USC. But again, USC is going to have to continue to show some improvement on defense also for some of these guys. Because that's just kind of, to me, that is what they need. Other than getting more aggressive with your name, image, and likeness, policies, playing good defense is probably the most impactful thing that USC can do to help recruiting.
Definitely.
And they need more high school guys. The linemen they need to. You don't want to start. You're looking at a USC offensive line right now that's got 3 transfers that are playing on it. And we're seeing some issues with that, I think. With the high school guys, especially these linemen, you kind of know what you're getting because you've actually been watching them develop and progress maybe since they were freshmen in high school. So you're a lot more confident on what you're getting with these high school guys, and you get to develop them in your system. Let's say a guy like Elijah Page, he comes in next year if he starts on the offense. I know this is going off topic here, but if he goes in and next year, he's been in the program for a year, and it's just you just have a lot better fluidity with the guys and cohesiveness. I think with the linemen, guys that have been together kind of feel like they're brothers, right? So I think Jericho Johnson is the most important prospect left on USC's board right now.
Definitely.
Outside of the guy committing tomorrow.
Fair point. And on top of his set of schools is Oregon and Washington, so it'd be nice to pull him away out of their hands. Perfect. So as far as recruiting news go, that's all we got for you. But I feel like mainly what you guys want to talk about is the Notre Dame game, that disappointment in South Bend. Scott, what were you were at the game? What did you see? What did you notice?
Yeah, well, the first thing is it's hard to believe that USC could possibly get beat 48-20 by this Notre Dame football team. This is a good Notre Dame football team, but that's it. This is a Notre Dame football team that could lose to Pitt this upcoming week or in 2 weeks for all we know. They're good, but they're not 48-20 good. All right, really against most of the teams they're going to play that are in Power 5 conferences. So that was the first thing. But another thing was just how shockingly bad the offensive line looked. And in the end, all of the stuff that happens on offense, good and bad, all revolves around those 5 guys. And they struggled mightily yesterday against Notre Dame, especially the guards. And I don't know what they can do after week 7 to change things up on the offensive line, but they're gonna have to figure out something, because Utah's probably a better defensive team than Notre Dame. So it will be at home. USC can make some changes on offense, but yeah, I just saw, defensively, I think that they played well enough to where if USC didn't turn the ball over 5 times and let a kickoff return, and that's a lot of big ifs, because that was some good football Notre Dame played as well. But I think it was going to be a close game at best for USC regardless. So I think the defense played well enough to let USC win that football game yesterday.
Yeah. Before I go into my rant, I want to give credit to Notre Dame. They served us an ass whooping, and we really had no answer for that. But no, they're not a great football team. They're arguably maybe top 15. USC just shot themselves in the foot so many different times, and with so many wasted opportunities with those. I mean, you said we had 5 turnovers, right?
Yeah.
5 turnovers we allowed. That kickoff return for touchdown. What was that? The pick 6 or a fumble 6 there at the end?
Yes, it was a fumble 6, I guess. I missed it, but I think it was a fumble.
I don't know how many of those points just came off USC's missed opportunities, or creating opportunities for Notre Dame to win. And so really, oh man, it's just so frustrating, because it's so it can so easily go the other way. But no, USC got beat bad.
Well, you can't go into Notre Dame and start off the game with 2 interceptions and have Notre Dame basically. I think the average scoring drive was 7.5 yards.
Yeah.
I think they took one to the 2-yard line, if my recollection is correct, and the other to about the 15. Somewhere in that range, right? So if you're letting your opponent at a place like Notre Dame get up 14-0 that quick that way, then you're dealing with momentum too.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with a lot of issues. So the game was kind of over at that point. I was kind of like, I don't think USC can come back from this. I didn't, in my head, didn't think they literally couldn't, but and then it was just continued struggles offensively, even when they weren't turning it over. Penalties that just, they'd have some nice plays and they'd go forward, and then they just come backwards. Maybe a couple in a sack with one of those 5-yard, false start penalties or whatever it might be. Caleb Williams had a beautiful quarterback sneak it's not really a quarterback sneak, but he ran, it was like about a 25, 30-yard touchdown run.
Yep.
And Manuel Pregnon was like mauling a guy from my viewpoint. So, it was just everything. They did everything possible to ensure that they were going to lose 48-20. And so the only thing that's positive about this game is it was not a conference game.
Yes,
but they're going to lose one of those soon if they continue to play like this. So I don't think USC fans have really a whole lot to worry about Caleb Williams throwing 3 interceptions next week, or even any other week this season. So I think you can look at that as an anomaly and just kind of like, all right, one of those games, kind of like USC Stanford 2007, where USC was a 49-point favorite at the Coliseum against Stanford, and they lost. Because John David Booty, I think USC had 7 turnovers that night. So you're going to lose every football game you play if you turn the ball over 5 times. Let alone add almost like another turnover in a kickoff return. So you're just dealing with way too much to overcome. So that's my final rant on that. We can get into some specific topics as we go along, but add on here. Let's pile on today.
Ironically, this is probably the best I've seen the defense play. I mean, when Notre Dame actually had field to work with, we were stopping them on all sides, except for that long touchdown throw by Sam Hartman. But I mean, we were just serving up the defense really bad opportunities. And it was just, I mean, they didn't allow 48 points. I mean, the offense allowed 48 points, I guess. But
most of them were on the offense in the special teams coverage. It really, really was.
And we don't need a special teams coach. Every week it's getting more clear and clear that we need a special teams coach.
Well, I think there's programs you can make an argument for either way. nobody can say that you're wrong, and nobody can say somebody else is wrong for thinking another way. But I think clearly there could be an argument made that USC doesn't need 2 receivers coaches.
Fair.
So and you can fill it with a special teams coach, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it came down to just like either being not prepared for the game or just I don't know. The offense just looked. I mean, last week I said they will not look the same like they did against Arizona. They will coming out firing on all cylinders, and that was complete opposite of what actually happened. I was so far off. They looked worse than they did against Arizona, which, oh my goodness.
Well, the one thing that last year that USC could pretty much depend on, especially when Travis Dye was playing, is they could run the ball straight ahead. USC, if they're going to put seven DBs back there, you need to run the ball straight ahead. You have to be able to go forward for 4 to 6 yards. At some consistent pace. USC did that last year. It opened a lot up. Just being able to get through the middle of a defensive line in the front, whatever the front 7 might be, is vital. And USC is not getting that. At least the last 3 weeks, right? There's some good runs. I mean, Marshawn Lloyd is going to get his yards, but he's not getting them where USC needs them most right now. And so that, along with the offensive line play, with protecting Caleb Williams, and you're looking like a team didn't come prepared. But it might. Hopefully, for USC fans, I would think that it'd be best if it wasn't just being prepared for that game. But it's starting to look like it's just kind of like that's kind of a trend right now.
Yeah. Yep. It's just like every week, it's just something new or the same old. Actually, it's the same thing every week.
Yep. But at the same time, they have an opportunity to go out and play Utah and beat Utah. And I promise you, if USC goes out and beats Utah, the Notre Dame game stink won't go away for USC fans, but there'll be a lot of that spray that'll be masking some of the stench.
That's fair. It would be really nice to beat Utah, as they beat us twice last year, once at Utah and once in the Pac-12 championship, as you guys all remember. So we're at home this time, so that'll actually move up to our next subject, which is Utah at USC this weekend, and USC is projected to win by 5. Scott, what do you think about that?
With Utah, I always like USC at home. Then one of the main reasons I do think USC will win this football game is that Utah has really struggled offensively. But USC has also made a lot of teams struggling offensively look really good when they play them.
Yeah.
So you can't just assume that Utah is going to not score points on Saturday against this USC football team. But I do think that based off what I saw from the defense, the last 2 games. I mean, look, Arizona went and beat Washington State 44-6 yesterday on Saturday. So let's just like I said when USC beat Arizona right after the game. USC did not beat a bad football team. You fans and the country is going to look at it like, oh, they barely beat Arizona. Arizona is a good football team. Arizona lost to Mississippi State in like triple overtime to start the year in Starkville, and then lost to Washington, and they lost to USC, both by a touchdown or less. Yeah. So, I think that USC will go into this game, and they're going to have to figure out something offensively as well. And USC doesn't look invincible at home either. But Utah always struggles on the road. So that the combination of everything going on, if USC doesn't figure it out this week, the following 3 to 4 weeks are going to be brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Probably, if you asked my prediction last week, I would say, oh, we'll win by 10 to 20 points easily, considering how we've seen Utah play. It's pretty poor. But after yesterday's or Saturday's performance, I honestly don't know. All of my expectations of this team are just thrown out. I have no clue what's going to happen. We could go out there, we could put up 45, and we could beat them by 20, or we can go into triple overtime and beat them by 2. I can't even put a prediction on it. I can't. I think we'll win by 7. I think so, but
you need to win these Pac-12 games, and the loss to Notre Dame doesn't mean USC can't at least go to a conference championship game. So USC, when people are all over Riley for some of the stuff he says after the games, and I guess they can have at it with him right now. But I just think that overall USC has got a chance to still control its own destiny. When Riley says that, they do. So they go out and win, go 1-0 each week. The old cliche. They still go on. You win the Pac-12, you're going to the playoffs.
Of course.
So there's no reason to talk playoffs right now. Right now, you're just talking go beat Utah. But the fact does remain that you beat Utah, you beat Cal, you beat Washington, you beat Oregon, you beat UCLA, which is going to be hard.
Yeah.
You are going to vault yourself all the way back up into the top 4. And so, the fans need to still support this football team. You can be upset the way they've looked, but it just kind of pisses me off, to be quite honest, that these fans are so fickle that they can't at least go out and, criticize the team on Saturday night and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, how many days it takes for you to purge it all from your systems. But you need to support this football team. So get your asses to the Coliseum
100%.
On Saturday and support them. And then let them win that game and show up when they play, Washington, and do the same thing then. Because the season's not over, despite the feeling that most fans had after Saturday night's performance. Anyway, that's my rant.
Comes later in the season because we normally play Notre Dame towards the end of the season. So I'm kind of glad we're getting that first loss out of the way early, I guess. Next week, will you be at the Utah game?
Yes.
Nice. Me as well.
Yes, I'll be at Sierra Canyon versus Sarah on Friday night to go see Xavier Jordan and a few other guys. And then Coliseum, and the Coliseum is going to be packed.
Yeah, almost sold out.
And it's going to be packed with key recruits, a lot of them. So I have an opportunity for these guys to show up and watch USC play in person. If they play a good game, it impacts recruiting too.
100%. And then also, just an announcement. USC was ranked now 18th in the AP poll, if that matters to anybody. Just want to put that out there. Next up, another
16 in the coaches poll.
15 in the coaches poll?
16.
Okay, 16 in the coaches poll. Well, thank you for tuning in to another edition of WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Jaylen Brashier, and we'll see you next Monday. Fight on.